Hello, friends, and welcome back to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and today I'm just going to go over a little, I would say life hack, productivity hack that I learned years ago, and I want to just talk about it for a little bit because it made a pretty significant improvement in my life, and maybe it's something that you could take something from, and it may not be something that you can implement today in your world, and I get that, but it should be something that you think about and maybe make a list and try to implement over time. And this is a concept that I want to give credit to. You know, I heard this at a sales mastery event, a Todd Duncan Sales Mastery event years ago. It was probably 22, 23 years ago. I'm aging myself. But I was in my early 20s when I heard about this. And at the time, I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. That must be nice. But I don't think that's something that's going to work in my life. And this was the concept of creating a not to-do list. Now, we all know about having to-do lists, right? Hopefully you're creating to-do lists all the time. I mean, for me, it's a huge productivity hack on how it is we get things done. It's very basic. We've been making to-do lists our whole lives, and this is nothing new, and it does help us stay on track with getting things done. Speaking of getting things done, that is another side note. You want to write down this book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. It is probably the most impactful productivity book on getting things done that I've ever read. Changed the way that I get things done. But you guys, this episode is not about getting things done. It is about getting the things out of your life that, frankly, you just don't want to do. Now, like I said, there's things that you might not want to do, but you kind of have to do. But I want to talk about some of these things. And I'm just going to give you the list as it was presented to me. Like, maybe you really hate mowing your yard, keeping up on your yard, weeding your garden, right? Maybe you hate, cleaning your gutters or pressure washing your house or washing your car or, a lot of these mundane things that, at least here in the Northwest, as soon as the sun comes out, we're all out there and all you hear is lawnmowers and people washing their cars because, it rains here for about 9 months out of the year and you don't get to do all those things. And look, and I understand that some of these things can be therapeutic. I mean, look, I get it. I don't mind mowing my grass once in a while. You get out there, you put your headphones on and you listen to whatever your favorite jam is and, you do some yard work. I get it. That can be therapeutic. But the pressure for me, and I'm going to talk about yard work in particular, because it was the first thing that I implemented in my early 20s was, I lived on a couple acres and it would take me about 4 hours to mow my grass, weed eat, do all the things that I needed to do. And when I think about the fact that I'm working 40, 50 hours a week during the work week, and then on the weekend, I have to fit in, mowing of the yard and all the stuff. And then for me, at least, with that much land, if I missed it one weekend because I had to go do some other event or I was traveling, then all of a sudden the next time I mow, now it's not just mowing, now it's mowing and raking and picking up all the stuff because it's so thick and your yard looks like garbage. So it's one of these things that needed to be kept up on. And for me, it wasn't just mowing the lawn. It was in the fall. I had all these trees. It was leaves. It was branches. It was after a big storm. I had all this yard debris to pick up and all this stuff. And so one of the first things I implemented that was on my not to-do list is I'm going to hire someone to do my yard maintenance for me. Now, if I still want to go out and tool around in my yard, I can do that. It's fine. But day in, day out, week in, week out, I haven't had to worry about doing my yard work for 20 years. And I will tell you, when I did it, it was like the most freeing thing that I could have done. It now freed up my weekends. I didn't have to worry about doing that. And there's probably lots of things like this in our lives that we don't enjoy doing, and they're easy to delegate to somebody else. Now, yeah, you have to have the money to do that. I get that. But I think we need to think about the way that we think about our money, because what if just for a couple weekends, instead of taking 4 hours to mow my yard, I didn't trade that for fun time. What if I traded that to go to some open houses? What if I traded that to go build some new relationships, go to a trade show, go somewhere where I could meet some new people that could refer me business? Well, how many transactions as a mortgage or real estate professional, do I need to bring in a month to pay for yard maintenance? It's like less than one transaction. It's a fraction of one transaction in most cases. And, because it's not that expensive. I mean, even with a large yard like I have, this is not, relatively speaking, that expensive of a thing to hire someone to do if you have them do it on a regular basis. And so there are ways of freeing up the time to generate the money to take a fraction of that increased money, pay for the thing you don't want to do, and you still come out ahead. And that was the experience for me. So sometimes instead of just being a naysayer and saying, that must be nice, Tony, to have enough money to have someone mow your yard. It's like, no, create the money. Like we're all commission based. There's ways of doing that. But I get some of these things require additional funds, but maybe you could free up the time to generate the additional funds in order to pay for it and still come out financially ahead. Now, there's lots of other things that people don't enjoy doing. My wife, she does not like grocery shopping. But, in our family and the way we've divided up the tasks, that's something that's on her list of things to do. But what she started to do is, on Sunday evenings, she goes on and she orders the majority of her groceries. Now, there's a few things she likes to get at the supermarket or at a farmer's market, fresh fruits and meats and things of that nature. So she'll do that. But the bulk of what we need for the family, it's all ordered online. Paying your bills, for me, that's my responsibility. So I have to sit down, pay all the bills, do all the things. And what I've done is set up as much of that as I possibly can on auto pay so that I don't have to sit down and worry about paying a lot of the bills. It's all automated. It's all set up. And we all have these things in our lives that we just, don't enjoy doing. I have, and I've had probably over the years, 10 different, kids that have worked for me on the weekends because there's lots of things, little tasks that, the yard maintenance people don't do, but, little projects that need done. And they're things that I would rather go work on one of my cars or something that I enjoy doing on the weekend instead of doing, weeding of this garden or washing the trailer or whatever. I mean, the list goes on. And so, I'll hire my nephew right now. It's my nephew that does a lot of work for us. And just all those little odds and end jobs that are my responsibility, but I want to, find someone that I can have do those things and free up my time to go do the things that I enjoy doing. I only have so much free time. I don't want to spend it doing things that I hate doing. So, consider this in your life. Now, in your business, it's the same thing. There's a lot of tasks that we might be required to do as a mortgage or real estate professional, and some of them you just don't enjoy doing, or maybe you're just not good at them. So I would make a list. This is your not to-do list of the things that you're required to do, but that you don't enjoy doing. And then I would do a calculation, especially when it comes to your business, like, what is my hourly rate? I mean, we're all paid commission for the most part, but if I were to do the math, like how much do I make per hour? And maybe not how much do I make per hour right this second, but if I'm reaching my goals, my production goals, which I can then translate into what my income would be, and I reverse, engineer that, if I was performing at my optimum level or where I have my goal set, what would be my hourly wage? And then pretend as if you're there and say, okay, if I was making that kind of money, what are the things that I would remove from my list of responsibilities onto somebody else such that I could pay them a lower dollar amount than what I'm earning per hour in order to do that? And then what could I do with that extra time? With that freed up time, what could I then spend my time doing that's going to generate more revenue? So, I think that it's very scarcity mindset to think about a concept like this. And I was even questioning whether or not I wanted to do an episode on this because some people are like, yeah, like I said, must be nice to have the money to do that. Well, no, it's the concept that I want you to think about. It's the idea of being able to just not do things you don't want to do to free up time to do the things you want to do that also earn you more money. So it starts with your intention, as my good friend Craig Stamler would say. It starts with your intention and making this list and then going, what if? Doesn't mean you have to implement it today, but it's the concept of identifying that there's things that I do every day that make me not very happy. They make me not enjoy my job. They make me not enjoy my weekends. What if I could eliminate those things? What would that look like? So I challenge you to go through that sort of an exercise, make the list, get it clear in your head. Doesn't mean you can implement it today, but maybe it helps pull you in the direction of being able to create a life that allows you to set it up this way. Let's talk about some things that professionally you might not want to do. Like if you work with borrowers, I don't know that most people are making photocopies anymore, but I used to have to make photocopies when I was originating. I hated doing that. So making photocopies, collecting documents, keying in the application. I'm a horrible typer, so I don't like to type in and fill out the application. One thing that I stopped doing was I stopped going to people's homes. I used to go to homes and I'd be sitting on someone's couch taking a mortgage application with their dog licking my face and their kids screaming in the corner. And I'm like, what am I doing? I thought like I was giving great customer service, and maybe some people felt that it was, but it was highly inefficient in my business and certainly not creating the great mortgage experience that I wanted people to have. And so I changed the way that I did it. I stopped doing home visits. Certain products and programs, I just didn't do certain programs because they were just too much time and they were too difficult. I would refer them off to a friend, or I'd find someone at another bank that wanted to do this program. And I would say, look, come to me for all your mortgage resources. If I'm not the right person to do it, I'll find you someone who can, preferably someone who's not going to steal your clients and steal your realtors, which you can do. But certain products and programs, I just didn't do them. People that try to do everything and they're not good at them, I don't know. Give that some thought. Is that the best use of your time? How many other good transactions could you do while you're working on one of these fringe type of products or programs that you don't really understand? They're super complicated, and there's no need to do that. Managing your emails. Most people can't delegate their emails. I finally got to a place, took me years, to where I could release that and someone else manages my emails. I hate email. I still hate email, but at least now I get to go into my inbox and I just look for the ones that are flagged. I have a team member, my executive assistant, who goes through and flags the important emails. That's what I focus on. When I have time in my schedule, I go to my flags, I read my flags, that's it. And I might catch up on the other emails in the evening or whatever. I'll scroll through my phone if I have time. But those aren't important to me. It's a mental distraction. So things like that, booking travel, all sorts of things that you might identify you don't enjoy doing that you want someone else to do. And then the key is, once you get those off of your plate, what do you want to replace that time with that's going to help you generate additional income? Because you got to pay for all those things, So anyways, it's just a concept that for me, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, yeah, good idea. Then I started implementing it, and now I kind of live by it. Every once in a while I look back and I'm like, okay, what have I taken on in my life that just is really not bringing me any fulfillment or happiness or income, right? Because it's not an income producing activity during the day. What do I not like doing? Is there a way that I can delegate that to somebody else and do it in such a way that it frees up my time and doesn't cost me a ton of money to do that, where I could more than generate that income in a different way? And this is something that I revisit on a regular basis. And I feel like it's greatly enhanced my work and my personal life. And it's just it's a different way of thinking about things, and if it's an exercise you haven't been through or a concept you haven't considered, give it a try. Hopefully you're great at to-do lists. Maybe let's get better at our not to-do list. And that's my thought for today. I appreciate you guys spending the time to watch Market Shares. I hope this information you find helpful and interesting. And if you do, please share it with somebody. Let people know about Market Shares. That's super helpful to our channel. And of course, if you subscribe and click on the notifications, you will see our new episodes. They come out every single Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll see you then. Take care.